Hey guys, what's up? Mike V from Reliable Automotive Equipment. Today we're going to be going over the IP4. Nice machine. It's a 220 single phase machine, so it'll pretty much go anywhere in the shop. Does have 3 separate torches on it so that you can load everything at one time. You can do steel, MIG braze, and aluminum without having to change anything out. There is room on the back here for 2 tanks to do your straight argon and to do your argon CO2. This machine is very nice. We're going to be going over it for how to do the setup. All right, so we're going through a quick start on the machine. Power button here in the front. Turn that on. Let it go through its setup phase. Make sure your gas is turned on. And quick start on the menu board is your torch control. Is either going to be a standard MIG gun or a pulse gun. Trigger control is either going to be on-off switch for your steel and MIG braze or your 4-step for aluminum. This is where you set up your type of material in the system, whether it's going to be steel, MIG braze, or aluminum. This is for diameter of the wire. Then we're going to come up to here, make sure that the light is lit on metal thickness, dial in the number of the thickness of the material that you're working on. It'll automatically set everything up. You guys are ready to weld. All right, we're going to go over loading wire, going over the roller wheels, the differences between them all. So the way the machine is set up, the tensioning device here comes off. You can pull off this little nut right here. On the roller, we are going to look at this and we can see 0.8 for the size of the groove of the wheel. And then the opposite side, we're going to see 0.6. So on this for steel setup, 0.6 will be for 023 wire, 0.8 will be for 030 wire. So on this one we have 0.8 facing out. That is what we're going to be loading the wire with. We screw this little piece back on, and then when you load your wire in there, roller comes down, tensioning device goes up, and on steel wire, MIG braze wire, we're going to be able to be around number 3 on tension on a solid wire. Next one down is going to be set up for MIG braze. So same thing on this for pulling out the wheels on this. MIG braze we're set at 0.8 and 1.0. So whatever size MIG braze you're putting in, again the number will be facing out. If we're using 1.0, the 1.0 will be facing out. Again on this for tension, we can run this down to about 2.5 or 3 because it's a good solid wire. Bottom one is going to be set up for aluminum. On this, same thing, we're going to pull this out. Now these rollers on aluminum, they come with 1.2A or 1.0A. So on this we do have 1.2 wire in here. So we're going to have the 1.2 facing out. And now we're going to pop both of these up. Take our aluminum wire, just like loading the regular MIG. And then we just go through the little centerpiece in here. Bring it into your liner. Bring your pieces back down. On aluminum, we're going to be approximately 2 on the setting up in here. We don't need a lot of tension on aluminum because it fits really nice into the groove of the wheel, and that is all set to go. Okay, now we're ready to load the wire. We put the wire in, got it started. Go to the front of the machine on the menu board, and on trigger control, we put this down to the very bottom where it shows the spool with the wire coming through it. Should say NFS on the screen. And now we can actually hit the trigger on the gun. It will load wire, no gas, no electricity is coming through. Wire comes out, we can trim it off, we're ready to go. All right, now that wire is through, we're going to set gas flow. In order to set gas flow without the wire coming out, we're just going to take the red tensioning pieces off so that the rollers are not pushing wire. Now we can pull the trigger, and now I can adjust my gas flow wherever I want to put. All right, so the 3 guns coming out of the front, if you notice the green light on the next to the torch, that denotes which one is active at this point. So on this one, this is actually going to be marked aluminum. On this will be the bottom one. Our next one up is actually going to be CUSI for MIG brazing, and if I just pull the trigger and let it go, it'll automatically turn the light to that, and then the menu board will be set up for the CUSI. And then the final one is our top one for steel. Again, just pull the trigger, and now that menu board is active for this gun. Okay. So the menu board for whichever gun is activated, you can set up individually for each gun. On this one, this is your gun selection. These 2 we're not going to use. That is for a stick welder. That is for a stainless steel TIG welder. This is a standard torch head that you have on your regular steel MIG welder. This one with the little wavy lines is for pulse, which will be used for MIG braze and aluminum. And this one with the double wavy lines will be synchro pulse or frequency, which is used for manufacturer specifications only. The next one is your trigger control. The 2 arrows represents on and off for the trigger. The 4 arrows represent your hot start and cold ending for aluminum welding, and that was loading our wire that we showed. The next one over here is the type of material that you're going to be running through your wire, which will be steel. CRNI is stainless steel. ALMG is aluminum wire. It's aluminum magnesium or a 5000 series. We have another aluminum wire, ALSI, which is 4000 series. We have CUSI, which is copper silicium, which is MIG brazing. And we have CUAL, which is copper aluminum, which is specific for the manufacturer. The next one down is diameter of the wire. So we're showing 0.6, 0.8, 1.0, and then on 1.2 we'll show a little flashing light on that, which will represent 1.2. Make sure you have the correct diameter of the wire because it will affect how fast the wire or how slow it comes out. Then your final setup is on here with the thickness of the material, that you can run this in your different areas of thickness. Will automatically change your volts, amperage, and wire speed. Even though amps show up here, when this light is lit, this represents the thickness of the material. So on the menu board that we have, if I push and hold this, we come up with gas pre-flow, and you can adjust the setting on this. This is factory settings, usually 0.3. It wouldn't hurt to put it up to 0.5. Gives you some gas flowing out of the gun before you start welding. GPO is gas post-flow. That's when you're done welding. The gas will continue to run to help cool down the weld. Hot start level is used on the aluminum process of the 4-step trigger control. That is what when you first pull the trigger, that is going to be a percentage of your number of the thickness that you're welding with for setting up your setup. Go back in the menu here. CFL is your crater fill level or your colder ending on the aluminum side of it. You can dial that in. That again, that is a percentage of the material. Hot start timer, that is the amount of time from the hot start to normal welding. It'll take half a second to ramp down. And again, when you go to your crater fill timer, that is when you go from your normal welding to filling in the crater at the end on the 4-step. That'll take a half a second to ramp down. Active welding and pause welding, we really don't use in the automotive industry right now. This is if you want to set up for doing a continuous stitch weld, you can have it active for welding. Set your timer, and then you can also set your time in between for the space on that. For the most part, we don't use that in our industry right now. And that is it on the menu board for that. It'll go back by itself, or you can push the button again for it to come back. And then our last little setup is if we push this button here, you'll see that this will go to the negative side and go to the positive side. This is a very fine tune that if you're going in between a 1.4 material and a 1.5 material and you're not getting the results that you want, you can come back into here, and if you go negative, that's going to make that weld a little bit colder. If you go positive, it's going to make it a little bit hotter. This is just a very fine tune. Do not go to this first. That is your last after going in between metal thickness for doing your setup. So to put the ground in, if you notice on the machine, we do have negative and we do have positive. The positive one is there for the stick welding and the TIG welding. You want to make sure that for MIG welding, we're always going to put this into the negative side, turn it just like a regular MIG welder, lock it into place, and that's your ground wire hooked up. All right, guys, that wraps up the IP4-3. If you have any questions or comments, look at we have the phone number up on the screen there. We have our website on there to look for more videos. All right, guys, have a great day.